CII Radio, embracing Africa one city at a time.
All thanks is to Allah.
Beautiful indeed, Allah, Allah, and hear the name of Allah. How beautiful the soul resonates with that, how the soul gets into that realm of reality, the proximity, the obeisance, all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Joining us on the platforms of CII Radio this morning on the Organic Breeze is none other than Rafeek Hassen, the president of IFRI, a world-class comparative religion expert, and also holds many different platforms on media where he, disseminates the message of Islam. Rafeek Hassen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah khair for joining us this morning on the Organic Breeze. How are you doing, Rafeek?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Faz. Alhamdulillah, your duas and everyone's duas, Allah's fadl karam, we are well.
Well, I tell you, Rafeek, we've been asking questions to all our regulars on the Organic Breeze, people like yourself, and will be next. Reason being that, people see different dimensions, and we know you're an all-rounder. But before I get to that, Rafeek, we've that time, of the season, people say, oh, tonight, be careful that the children don't go out, and, we may need to do this and we do that. But, we find that we're giving them programs, but we're giving them programs in a reaction. We are not a proactive community. We are a reactive community. Like, we're playing chess, and what they do that we make the next move, but the other person makes the first move. We as Muslims, we should be proactive, and we should be the leaders. We should be leading the world into haqq and preventing batil. But it seems as if we're playing the game of not being proactive, but reactive. How do you respond to that, Rafeek?
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu samfatu min nabiyyin wafat. Well, you are absolutely correct. I think we're talking now, obviously we cannot generalize, but I think if we say this as for our community, as an ummah, by and large, let's use the word, by and large, we are, sometimes we don't even react. Reactive is some reaction, even if it's too late, but there is some reaction. We have been so numbed, Brother Shafat, by the mass media, and we have been so anesthetized over the generation, and in such a slumber and sleep we are in, that there is no reaction. We are actually the living dead in many instances, and I'm not being, negative. I'm just saying that this is part of the plan, to put us in this state, of complacency and, worrying about only ourselves, not worrying about what's going wrong. And because, so much of the times we have been conditioned and bombarded by violence, by rape, all the negative things in the media, now nothing affects us. Oh, it's just another statistic. Oh, that Boxburg bomb. Oh, that explosion. Oh, yeah, it's gone to 37 now. And I'm carrying on with what I'm doing. Nothing affects me. Everything is hunky-dory in my life. So there's no reaction even. Leave alone reactionary, Brespart. We have been numbed and dumbed into senselessness. So Islam is the opposite, The Prophet ﷺ, why was the first ayah Iqra? Iqra was first because it was addressing the malady at the time. They couldn't read and write. Not only on Nabi ﷺ, majority of the Arabs couldn't read and write. And, the people of the book, the Ahl Kitab, the Jews and Christians around him and the other civilizations were advancing at that time. So Allah told the Prophet, read and write. Iqra alama bil qalam. He was addressing, you've got to wake up. Can't be in the same, situation. There's a saying, if you keep doing what you were doing all along, you're going to keep getting the same results you were getting all along. And one has to bring about the change. And what we need, Brother Shafat, I think as an ummah, is I think they have successfully, the enemy, the force outside there, Dajjal and his system, call it what you want to call it. They have managed to anesthetize us. And I think we need the antidote so that at least, we'll come back in our senses, and then we'll be able to react. And then once we're fully in our senses, we'll be able to act before even reacting.
Rafeek, sometimes when you sit with individuals and you notice, alhamdulillah, they have very high academic qualifications, but the basic things, and the other day I was talking to an individual, and he was talking about, if it wasn't for the Westerners, you wouldn't have the computer, you wouldn't do this, you wouldn't do that. And I looked at this individual and I was amazed. I said, look at him, how he's blabbing his mouth, but he doesn't know that algorithms was invented by a Muslim. It was a Muslim that gave us algorithms. That's why we have the computer, we have mathematics, we have algebra, we have, AI intelligence. If it wasn't for his discovery, this wouldn't have happened. So I stopped him in his tracks and I told him, this is the Al-Khwarizmi. I spoke to him about the history about him. And this guy looked at me stunned. He said, really? I said, really? Because, I didn't want to go on and tell him that you're West toxicated and the type of syllabus that you are reading is being designed by maybe the Zionists who want you to think in a certain way. You made the point, people are desensitized to things. But it's this mass programming where Malik al-Shabazz said, he said the media is so powerful, it can brainwash you. It can brainwash millions and millions of, people. He says the media is so powerful. It can have you loving those that are doing the oppression and hating those that are oppressed. Rafeek, your comments?
Well, that's it. This is not a pie in the sky story. Brother Safar, this is a fact that we, from the time we are born, we are being conditioned, and there is an absolute deliberate attempt, to keep us conditioned and to thinking in a certain way. I mean, violence it's so acceptable now, the fact that you tell anybody, the Muslims are disunited, nothing will come right, hey, this ANC is bankrupt, and carry on. So we have been the negative media has, our mind now has accepted it, and then what is worse, Brother Shabbat, that we cannot do anything about it. And that is why my Jummah talk yesterday is that we are not learning something ever. We don't have the desire to learn and to get in touch with the goings on around us. And that is what my Jummah talk was about yesterday. That, we are not aware of when Muslims rose in history, when we like to bask in the past glory, and not that we mustn't do that, and we'll talk about, how Ibn Firnaz, discovered, and how, Idris discovered the world map, and, we know all those things about the past. But what about the present? And even now, I don't want to be negative. Let's balance it, Principal. Let us balance it. Right now in the Muslim world, but I would say, sadly, it's not getting publicity. There are many, many Muslim scientists and contributors in fields of social work, in sociology, in biology, in science, in literature, in the different fields, in politics even, as politicians. There are a lot of Muslims who are way beyond the mark, who are doing many big strides they are making, but the media won't give them coverage because, it's all against Islam and Muslims. They are the greatest threat to modern civilization and Western hegemony and the New World Order guys, and call them what you want. The guys who are controlling the world is Islam and Muslims. So to balance it on the other side, that's why I said right at the beginning, we can't paint all of us with the same brush. There are areas and places and individuals, in the world right now as Muslims who are in touch with the technology, who are even beyond that and discovering new things. But the average, we're talking to the average listener who's listening to us, and I'm going to end with this point. What new thing did you learn yesterday? That's what Iqra is all about. What new fact, information about science and about Quran and about Hadith and about, the social movements, about the world, the current world. One fact, did you learn anything yesterday? And if you didn't, then you are that person we are talking about, that it's time that you start to make your timetable. It's time to make your timetable and say, Every day I'm going to sit for, this time to this time, and I'm going to start to better myself and equip myself with knowledge by reading, by asking, attending classes. Then we'll find we are on the road to recovery, Brother Shafar.
Good point indeed. And if you look at consumerism, Rafeek, and you look at the Emiratis, and you look at these rich Gulf states and so forth, buying the Maseratis, buying the Lamborghinis, the super yachts and the private jets, and indulging themselves, buying off hotels and so forth. And you can see what they're turning that part of the world into. It seems as if they're very good at buying things. But no invention, nothing takes place. And if there is progress, they say so-called progress, but the building is done by whom? All these projects are given to American companies, German companies, and British companies are making billions out of these people, left, right, and center, besides, supplying them with all these obsolete, even armaments industry, which was the biggest industry last year. I mean, every year, I think it is the biggest industry. They won't even tell you that. They'll talk about gold and diamonds and silver and all, but they will never talk to you about what the armaments industry is doing. And these same Arabs are buying obsolete, junk for for protection, and they can't even use it themselves. So they'll hire some Americans to come and work for them there, or some I don't know who else they get. But your thoughts on that, Rafeek?
Well, it comes, yes. You remember we went through this once before, but I want to remind ourselves, and that is that you'll find not long ago in South Africa, a few decades ago when we were growing up, that we find that the ones who were sharp, in metric and got good grades went and became doctors and lawyers. But the ones who couldn't, dropped out of school, we send them to Islamic studies, So this is also happening right now as we speak, is a policy in certain Arab countries, believe it or not. And I know what I'm saying. The student who gets A marks is no way going to go into a university and do Islamic studies or become an alim, a deen. No ways. He must go into America. They'll send him into the Western sphere. But the one who's got the lower grade, we send him there. So unless and until what you're telling me is we're not going to change that thinking, unless and until each one of us don't come to realize that what we need al-ilm. The Prophet, why did the Nabi say, go to seek knowledge even if it means going to China? The master is there himself. Prophet is the master. He is the one receiving the final, most dynamic revelation the world has ever received. But why is he telling some of his companions to go to China? Because in China discovered certain things. They discovered paper. They discovered gunpowder. They discovered certain things they had, which it was not known to the Arab world. Nabi Sallallahu was looking at al-ilm as the broad. It's science, it's medicine, it's deen, and it's about human life and agriculture and everything around us. So we need to start coming back to that, Brother Shafar. And it can only happen it's not a big sense like each one teach one. And each one must learn something new every day. And I'm going to emphasize this again. If talking is good, it raises the consciousness. But let's do something. Make a plan, make a timetable and say, what am I going to learn today? Have a book. Knowledge, what did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say? From the cradle to the grave. It's from the cradle to the grave. Keep a book and say, this is my book. Every day I want to add something to this book. Even if it's one line, what I learned. Then your mind, Allah says, once you take one step towards me, I will take 10 steps towards you. You come walking towards me, I'll come running towards you. Let's make the niyat. Niyat is only one thing, but let's put that niyat into action, Brother Safar. You'll be the change we want to be. Inshallah, you will see slowly, the changes around you, and Allah will not change the condition of the people unless first we don't change ourselves.
Said Rafeek, getting to the question that I have for you this morning, what was the best thing that happened for you in 2022, and what was a national or international highlight for you, Rafeek?
Well, all I can can say is a very good question. Let us say as Muslims, when we say, well, qadar khair wa sharri min Allah ta'ala, everything good or everything what we consider to be is all from Allah. So through the fazl and karam, well, I can say, alhamdulillah, just to say, and I want you to listen carefully what I'm saying, brother. The best thing about 2022 is we are still alive and hale and hearty and fit while this Gregorian year is ending. There's nothing, no money can buy that, brother. And therefore, the best thing we can thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has retained us with good health, and we still slept. We didn't go to bed hungry, and it is in these basic things. Our family, I have my second, this is the second granddaughter that got married this year. These are, Allah gave us not only the strength and the life, but the ability to witness this and share in this joy. So we say shukr alhamdulillah. So yes, the simple basic things enough with all the doom and gloom around, with all the doom and gloom in our country, brother Shafat, the unemployment rate is so high. Don't you think that the greatest thing of 2022 is I am still, hale and hearty, and my ship is still sailing with the fazl and karam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As far as the international one, you know very well, Brother Shafar. On the international front, my trip to Palestine was the highlight of the year. Thanks again to, the group, the Dawah group, that when our brother Shiraz, they had foresight in taking, we took a multi-faith group. There were Christians, there was a black Jew, and others in that group, and we went to Palestine. And that really opened my eyes there. By going there, it opened my eyes to so many things, as you said, in the field of comparative religion. And I'm so excited because now they have discovered the city of David. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, because the city of David is below Al-Aqsa Mosque, outside the Al-Haram Sharif compound, on the southern side of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. At the bottom, they have discovered the city of David. Why this is the highlight, I think, for the many, many years to come, because even Christian and Jewish archaeologists are now proving that is where the Temple of Solomon was, in the city of David, which was not on the Al-Aqsa compound, but they are claiming that the Dome of the Rock, the Qubba, the Sahara, that is where the temple was. They are themselves saying it is impossible. It was done. We have discovered the city of David, that David Dawud alayhi salam built, and that's where the temple was. So I think this is exciting news, and this is a really novel. This is going to occupy me for the best part of the next year to get this message across, so that those dying hearts who still want to build the temple for the third time, Baba, the land is waiting downstairs there. Go build it. Don't come interfere with us on the Haram al-Sharif.
You're listening, Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah, that's right. Not there, not there. There. Rafeek is pointing to the direction. Now, what was the most discouraging aspect of the dimension of 2022 for you, Rafeek?
Yeah, I think that, what is very discouraging is what is happening in the Muslim world. I don't want to worry about America and Russia and Ukraine. They are all adallin, the Quran calls them. They are all astray. They have no guidance. But, there were so many attempts being made. I mean, look what they did to Imran Khan in Pakistan, right? And saying this is a Muslim country, right? And then so, there were many attempts that, were being made to get, they wanted to even hold up an Islamic, countries conference, a get-together, like how, you have a G8 countries and all that. They wanted to get together, and, Saudi Arabia stepped in and stopped Imran Khan from joining Malaysia, and all these countries wanted, Indonesia, Pakistan, were wanting to come together and form a Muslim bloc, which would have been such a great idea. But, I'm not going to blame the West anymore. They are not strong. We are weak. That is the problem. We can't keep blaming the West for everything anymore. I think we as Muslim leaders, need to come and think carefully. They want to keep us divided on silly things. And for me, this was the one of the real setbacks I was very hopeful, even with Erdogan in Turkey, what is going on there right now, he's coming and then he's going, he's coming and then he's going. And now he's gone into bed again with Israel again. And no, these kind of things, are really disturbing, for me. Sometimes we get the hope that the Muslim world is coming together, and the next minute you see these leaders are, pulled away, whichever way, I don't know what force they're using against them, and turning them away from the Muslim unity as leaders. Wallahi, if only 3 or 4 Muslim countries come together, we will be successful, Brashman. The world will collapse. The Western hegemony will collapse. And that's the dua I'm making, and everyone should make for the coming year, that they must just ignore what, the East and West. Bear in mind, I want to end with this point. Not Putin, not Xi, and not, Biden and all these Western leaders. None of them are our true friends and allies. Just keep that in mind. Unless we're ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd. The Quran says we are protectors of one another only. The true Muslim will be the one to cover another Muslim's back and support. Don't rely on them. The Quran makes it clear that do not take them as your allies. And anyone who does so is going to be like them. And this is, we thought we're getting there. And I hope, inshallah, this in the coming year, I'm not disappointed. It's better try and fail than don't to try, Brother Safar. Let's make dua they succeed.
Amina, Rafeek. And who would you like to nominate as a president of South Africa, and why?
Yeah, very good question, Now, the president has to be setting the example. And, if it's not a good answer I'm going to give you, but if I really had, and if it was possible, the founding president of Singapore, I'll tell him to come and run South Africa. The founding president of Singapore. Go and read about him. They were in Malaysia. He's of Chinese origin. And if you hear him, when they went and formed Singapore, and I just want to say why, and if we have, anybody that will come close to those values, that's the person must come. People were talking about Imtiaz Soleiman from the Gift of the Givers. He's not a bad candidate. I think he has some of the qualities that we are looking for in the president. And long and short, he says we had to put the crooks into jail. When we formed Singapore, we had to take that. Doesn't matter how big the crook was and how big his name was. We had to put him into jail to set an example. We're not going to tolerate. Not number one. Number two, this is a very important thing. He said we are very strong in how we relate to one another as Singaporeans. In other words, whatever religion we are, whatever different cultural groups we are, we want to promote this harmony, that we are promoting a culture of coexistence and a culture of patriotism and honesty. And the last one, he says, the environment and cleanliness. Singapore was at one stage the cleanest city. He says, you know what he said? He said, it's no good having a policy. And he's not a Muslim, but he was applying the Muslim principles. What I said just now, Brother Shafat. And he said, it's no good, even if you can have good leaders, but if you have rotten followers, it's not going to work out as well. So we had to do both. We had to have the right leaders, and we had to build a moral character and fabric. And we had to inculcate those values of honesty, cleanliness, integrity, and coexistence in the community. That's the kind of leader we're going to need for South Africa.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and hearing him. Absolutely brilliant indeed, Rafeek. And what 3 things would you like to do for hungry people, Rafeek?
Well, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if I had all the money, and if the way the question is open-ended, so, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will apply his principle. Don't, just give them fish, teach them how to fish. So, open up skill centers, small things, where they can make their own halal, simple things. I'm going to say something also may not be, go down well, but we have to learn from everybody. The Nation of Islam, in America, yes, they went right off the track, right, with Elijah Muhammad claiming to be a prophet. But what they, wrongfully, but what they had one policy, Brother Safar. You'll notice the Nation of Islam, and then Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali came from there. Now, the Negro was standing, if the white man was standing after the Second World War for a soup bowl, with a soup can in his hand, then where do you think the African, the Negro was in America? Right down. And that's when the Nation of Islam started. But what did they say? How did they eradicate poverty and all this among the Nation of Islam, the Muslims, the Afro-American Muslims? You know how, Brother Safar? And I'm relating this. We need to do it here. You know what he said? They had a policy. I must first teach my follower to earn a halal rosy before I can teach him to pray. He must first learn, because if his stomach is hungry, what kind of a prayer is going to make? So this as a policy, you will find that there was no salah in the first 13 years of the Meccan period. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, namaz was not the first thing that came down, right? For the first 13 years, namaz only came in salah after the hijrah in Medina. But in that first 13 years, the Prophet ﷺ was bringing about a change in the social status of the individual. The slave is equal to the master. Take care of one another. Don't go to bed hungry. With your neighbor. Don't go to with your stomach full when your neighbor is hungry. Caring for one another, sharing with one another, and empowering one another. And this is how we can get rid of it. I can tell you this much to end, Brother Safar. And again, I don't want people, to misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't think, Brother Safar, those who are listening, and you will bear me out. Since COVID started 2 years ago in this country, I don't think the Muslim community fed people in their life like how they fed in the last 2 years. There were so many feeding schemes that they came and shown the beautiful example, They knew the verse of the Quran to feed the hungry stomach, and they all came, in droves everywhere. People who were working class people took out from their homes. That is the quality of a Muslim. But it didn't solve the hunger problem. We were treating the symptom and not the cause. Think about it.
Absolutely.
You want to treat hunger, you must treat it at its cause.
Full marks to you there, Rafeek. And finally, are you positive that South Africa will recover and survive in 2023?
Well, survive we will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the South Africa will be there. But I hope the present government is not there, and I hope the crooks are not going to be there, and I hope some of the immoral and misguided communities that we have in South Africa, the culture of entitlement, the culture of laziness. I hope that's not there in 2020. It's not going to change overnight. Yes, South Africa will still be there, but we are making dua that we must get this new fresh breeze. Again, there are many things I say which is not normal thinking people, the normal run of the mill. I'm going to come back as we ending with our national anthem. And people may wonder what Rafeek Hassen is saying. Nkosi sikelele Africa. Oh Allah, Nkosi, help Africa. Malu Pondorwayo, bring your good breeze. Izwa tandazo ye too. Hear me make this dua to you. Oh Allah, send us this good wind. Send us this good wind. Send us someone who will come and change the situation. And I have hope in that. In 1973, an old African man cleaning the beach told me this when I asked him, will we overcome the Afrikaner? And you know what he said? You didn't hear what I was singing? I was praying to God. He said, I have hope in my God. And Allah never turns the answer of an oppressor away. I am confident Allah will intervene. But we must do our bit as well.
Now, Rafeek, I'm going to take you way back. When Ibrahim Gengat was alive, and it was on CII radio, and I think Thabo Mbeki was being inaugurated or someone. And guess who was doing the show? You were hosting the Sabah al-Khair with me, and I remember you so graphically singing that Kosi Zingelele Afri. And and the way you were tapping on that thing. I tell you what a morning with you, Rafeek. And it's a old team, Sheigh and Rafeek. I mean, that's what they say. But I say, hey, Sheigh, hey, you got your man. I said, don't worry, we're coming. What a wonderful individual, Rafeek.
Yes, 100%. Look, it's a dua. In Kelele is a dua. And let's make this dua, it is in Surah, we don't have time, it is in Surah An-Nisa. When Allah says, why should you not fight in the Rijali wal Nisani wal Wildani, the men, women, and Yakuluna who are saying, oh Allah, rescue us from this town whose people are oppressing us. Ahluha min adunka wali. Ahluha min adunka nasi. Oh Allah, send for us one wali, a protector, a reformer, and send for us one who will help us. It's as if that man who wrote that in Kosisi Kelele, he knew this ayat of Quran in Surah Nisa. So it is a powerful dua, and I think I have hope. A Muslim never gives up hope, but we must do our bit first and then put our trust in Allah.
Bless you, Rafeek Hassen. A beautiful morning in your company. Lovely, wise words coming out from you. You have a, mashallah, beautiful day ahead. I will talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'd like to thank our Lucky for brilliant engineering. I tell you, if you only saw how he improvised and what he did, he mixed and matched, and he had Nadeem next to him and so forth. I'll give you 5 stars for that, Lucky. Jazakallah khair for that. And also to all of you that sent in messages, a big Jazakallah khair to you. Next up is a Juice a Day. It is 50 minutes uninterrupted from the team and I till we meet you again. We bid you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
CII Radio, embracing Africa one city at a time.
All thanks is to Allah.